So thank you for coming. I'm actually used to a little bit bigger of an audience in the last ones, but no, not a big deal here. So we're going to be talking about really how to get found by ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI, essentially all the different AI tools and how to get your business cited by them. So when someone asks questions like how to find a kitchen designer in Miami, how to find a home builder in Toledo, whatnot, that they actually recommend you instead of somebody else. So before we get started, the obligatory Alrighty. So really what we're talking about is AEO. It stands for Answer Engine Optimization, and it's really the new SEO. It's the new way that you get found online. And really, we're going to talk about what it means and how it applies to kitchen remodeling, kitchen design, cabinetry, people of that like. And what I like to tell people generally, and our clients always, we say this, is word of mouth is either dying or it's dead. And what I mean by that is people don't ask their neighbor anymore, hey, who should I hire for this? Who should I hire for that? At 12 in the morning, at 2 in the morning, they can't sleep, they have a thought, and what do? They whip up their phone and they say, hey, ChatGPT, hey, Alexa, who do I hire for this? Who's the best for that? So the idea here is what do we need to do? How do we change the structure of our website, of our social media, of everything that we do in terms of our digital footprint so that we get found? And what I'm going to cover today really is just that paradigm shift in the way that we search from what was old school SEO, what was old school Google searches, to the new way of I have a question and I want an answer to it. I want it right now. I don't want to go searching for it. I don't want to look through 15 websites to find it. Just give it to me. And really kind of how consumer search behavior is evolving and how that's affecting voice search now, how that's affecting not just text-based searches, but just our patterns and our behaviors online, and the impact of that on local businesses and what you can do to make sure that you leverage it today so that you're not chasing somebody for the next 5 years who did it before you. And then most importantly, and I'm going to try and get through this pretty quickly, is towards the middle of this, we're going to go through all the actual strategies that we are implementing today that are actually showing us actual tangible results in getting people found and how you can implement that in your business right away. So first question I always get is, who the heck is the guy at the front of the stage? Who's the guy they give a microphone to? Why should I listen to him? And you know what? It's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that, but who I am is, my name is Mike Goldstein. I am the CEO of a niche-specific marketing agency and growth partner for a lot of kitchen and bath remodelers. It's called Remodeling SEO. Been doing this for well over 20 years. Have spoken at KBIS in Vegas before, as well as some smaller venues. I actually am the author of 2 books, one of which you all have in front of you right now, which kind of details step-by-step, kind of a color by the numbers. How do I get found by ChatGPT? How do I get found by Perplexity and Google and the like? And I am the host of the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. With all that said, the reason that you might want to listen to me is because I've actually gotten some decent results for clients, and hopefully you can take something out of this and implement it on your own. So really, why does any of this matter? Why does AEO matter? Well, it's really simple. People these days are not just going to Google and typing in 3 words. They're not saying kitchen remodeler near me. They might not even be typing. They might be talking. They might be, and I gotta be careful there's nothing around me, hey Alexa, hey Siri or whatnot, and who do I hire? Who's the best? Or even more detailed questions, they're going to ChatGPT. Not, who should I hire in New York City to remodel my galley kitchen? Might be going to Copilot. Who's the best remodeler in Tampa, Florida? Perplexity, which by the way is a fantastic engine to do live searches in real time, meaning that it's not just based on its database. What's trending in kitchen design in Dallas, Texas? Google, even in Google and in Gemini, how much does it cost to remodel a kitchen near me? And it then actually can detect where near me is. And it will give you, if I'm in Austin, Texas, it's going to give you the result of someone in Austin, Texas who actually answered that question, not somebody in California who maybe charges 5 times as much because they're in San Francisco. And then if you know, on the screen what I have here is, an example of exactly what that looks like. And the thing that's so important about this these days is that you can see there's a number of people who are mentioned, but if you're not there, you're absolutely invisible. This isn't like Google where we can look at who's on page 2, 3, 4, and 5 and say, okay, I got some work to do. I'm in position 50, now I'm in position 30. I'm either in positions 1 through 5 here, or I'm just not there. So that's why it's so critical to really adapt the way that we create our content. And what we're finding, and this is something really specific about patents that we saw Google actually release over the last 2 years, is that they're favoring answers that can specifically be cited in an AI. And what I mean by that is if you're asking something in real time, oftentimes you will not see a Google AI response to that because it's just too trendy. If you ask evergreen topics that people can actually answer, you're going to see that more. But the bigger concern is this, that the latest statistics that have come out show that 59% of queries, meaning someone when they ask a question, actually have what's called a zero-click position. What that means is you don't have to go to a website to get the answer. You're going to put a question in, and Google or Chat or Copilot or Claude or whoever you use, they're going to tell you exactly what you want. And the thing is, we live now in an instant gratification world where people, they don't want to look at the 10 blue links and click on each one and look through a 5,000 word blog to try and find that one little piece of information. I got a question, just please tell me, what is the answer? And that's really what Google is looking to do. That's what all the AIs are looking to do. So what I tell people, and I have this discussion a lot, is stop telling everybody what you want them to know and start answering the questions they really have. And one of the best ways to figure that out is there is a website that's called alsoasked.com. There's another one called answerthepublic.com. And if you go to those websites and you type in whatever your question is, not only will it look at like the question from a standpoint of, okay, I understand what you're asking, but it'll show you what the 15 related questions that people ask as follow-ups are, and then it'll show you what the 15 follow-up questions to those follow-ups are, so you can kind of follow the path and you can say, oh, I get it, now I know what people want to know, because I only can talk to so many people, but if I can gather the data, if I can let these AI systems aggregate all that for me and then tell me what I need to answer, it makes it a lot simpler. So one of the things we look at obviously is search behavior, how it's changing, the way people search. Like I said, before, cabinet install near me, kitchen remodeler near me, kitchen designer near me, put it in Google, see the maps, hopefully you show up in that local 3-pack. If you don't, work your way up. But now it's so much more. Now people are picking up their phones and they're talking to it. So it's not going to be as simple as, whatever the service is near me. It's going to be, what's the best kitchen for an outdoor kitchen in Florida? Or it might be, our white shaker cabinet still going to be trending in 2027. If any of you guys are designers, please tell me they're not. Because I can't. And what happens is when you ask these types of questions, you get these featured snippets. You get these responses in that Google AI overview, and that's going to pop up above the maps now. That's going to pop up above the ads even. So even someone who's paying Google to show up, this AI stuff shows up on top of theirs, and then obviously it's going to show up on top of the organic. So what used to be, hey, I'm in position 2 on Google organically, great. You're actually in position 22 now, because the AI overviews sometimes will cite up to 10 different answers, and then it shows where it's getting it from, so people can trust, I see the answer and I see who gave it to me. Then they go through the maps, they go through the ads, then they finally get to organic. Organic doesn't even matter anymore. So that's really why AEO is very different from SEO. We used to concentrate on keywords. We used to concentrate on ranking a website in Google. We don't do that anymore. It's not about the overall site, it's about the content. It may not even be coming from a website. You may be going through Reddit threads. You may be going on LinkedIn and having a detailed discussion. And what the patents say that Google's looking at now is we're looking at this clustered content, the siloed content, everything that's interlinked together about a topic, and wherever that is, whether it's in a social platform, whether that's in, like I said, a a Reddit subreddit, any of those, whether it's on a website, that's the stuff that Google wants to find. That's the stuff that ChatGPT wants to find. And there are things that you need to do on your website just to even be read by these guys. So we need to optimize for both user intent, but also for the actual question and answer, rather than telling your backstory. Perfect example is my grandfather. He was a master carpenter, and my father before him, he was an expert at laying floors. And because of all of their work and everything they've done and they taught me growing up, I wanted to become a kitchen designer, a kitchen remodeler, or something like that. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what your backstory is. But what they do want to know is, should I be installing the same color cabinet as my backsplash? What they want to know is, what does it cost to install granite counter versus quartzite? These are the things that really matter these days. So the idea is that if you can own that position zero, you become the answer, you become the more trusted source, and that is going to generate lead flow. It's as simple as that. People are going to go with who's trusted. And you know who else is going to do that is ChatGPT and his Copilot and his Claude and his Gemini. And I can go on and on. There's so many of them out there now. But ultimately, people trust those AI systems on their phone way more than they trust certainly what you say as the vendor. And honestly, they probably trust them more than the one or two neighbors they know. It's just becoming the norm these days. So what I want to talk about a little bit here is, if you were a client of ours, these are the things that we have done for them. And these are the actual strategies that are getting people cited today for those really high traffic, commercial intent, transactional intent questions. And it's a really big thing to consider, is you don't want to just answer every question in the world. There's a lot of informational questions that DIYers who are looking for ideas are looking for, won't really help you so much. You want to think about, what are the questions people are asking that are going to lead to them spending money with you. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to target the audience who is trying to decide, do I want to remodel my kitchen? Do I want to remodel my bathroom? What I want to target is the audience who's already decided I want to, but what I don't know is who I want to do the work, who I want to help me, who I want to design it for me. So that's what this all comes into. And the first thing is that we need to restructure the way that we put content on our website. Is it optimized for those featured snippets, for that zero-click position? And the first thing I always tell people is, look at your headline. Is the headline the top of the page? Is it a statement or is it a question? If it's not a statement, tweak it. Turn it into a question. White shaker cabinet selection in 2026 is a statement. Should I install white shaker cabinets 2026? Very different. The next piece is, are you actually citing any kind of facts right away? Are you answering whatever that question is? And are you doing it within 50 or 60 words? And I had recently a consultation with a very large enterprise organization who hired a lot of journalists to do writing for them. And I sat down with all of them and I said, guys, you've got to forget everything you've been doing for 30 years, because nobody wants marketing spiel. Nobody wants the backstory. All they want is an answer to the question. And it was really difficult for them to do it. But when they did, they started to see the content was showing up in Google News. It wasn't newsworthy at all, but it was a question, and trending stories were starting to pick it up. They were showing up in ChatGPT. They were showing up in the featured snippets because they started answering directly, and that, tied with all their authority, made it much easier for them. So the next piece is, are you structuring your content in a way that it's easy for the machine to digest and to understand that you are actually an expert? What I mean by that is, are you internally linking your 10, 15 different pages on your website, or even connecting it to your LinkedIn profile, to your Facebook post, to your Google business post about the same topic? Maybe a little different twist on it, but you might write an overall article about what does it cost to remodel a kitchen, and then you write an article about what are the costs of different stone fabrication methods, or what are the costs of different backsplash tile versus stone, and all that. And then you start linking those together so that you're clustering your content. So now it makes it seem to the algorithm that you truly are an expert. You didn't just answer one question. The other piece of that is, are you structuring your content in Q&A format? Question, 50 to 60 words. Next section heading. Question, 50 to 60 words. Internally link. Doing all of this, and it does get a little boring, so interject images, interject video into it that's also answering those questions. A big piece, try and use lists. AI loves lists. I cannot emphasize that enough. Top 10 in anything is typically something that gets cited. So do that. And then, of course, if you create this piece of content, you've already done it, you've already done this, so now let's spin it in 10 different ways. Let's create a little micro podcast about it. And Google Note Taker can actually do this for you now. And it'll literally read it out, and it'll make a little podcast, a 5-minute podcast about whatever you wrote. Take that and embed it. Take this, go on to TikTok, go on to YouTube, Facebook, go live, pick up your phone, hey, so this is Mike, I just wrote a really cool piece about whatever. Let me tell you a little bit about why people care about, and just talk for 45 seconds about it, post it to YouTube as a short, then take that and embed it into your website. 2 reasons. Number 1, people consume content in different ways. So some people like videos, some people like to read, some people like to listen. Secondly, more importantly, who owns YouTube? Google owns YouTube. So anytime you engage with the YouTube channel, Google gives added authority to you as the author of the blog piece. So that brings us to our second point. Once you've created this kind of article on your website, you want to make sure there's going to be things you didn't touch on. Add an FAQ section, and don't make it a big 15, 20, 30 list of FAQs, but just pick 3 to 5 things that you really didn't touch on, but you're going to in the future. You write a very, very short 2 to 3 sentence answer, and then within that answer, you link to those other articles, or you link to those other videos, or whatever content that you have. And the reason for this is Google recently came out with a patent. It was called the answer passage scoring patent. And what they do is they actually look at how closely your answer relates to the exact question, and are you using synonyms that also relate to the exact question. So the closer you get, which is why you need a lot more content now, and with the advent of AI, with programs like HeyGen that can actually turn you into an avatar, not an avatar, but turn you into your own AI clone and give it a script and let it go, or ChatGPT, Claude helping you write content, there are so many ways that you can do this at scale. The third thing, and this is really where we stop from what everybody reads online and the actual things that make a difference, is you need to become that trusted authoritative source. Just having some content isn't good enough. And the way I always tell people this is, imagine if I wrote 1,500 articles about how to putt better or how to drive a golf ball. By the way, if I hit a golf ball, it's going that way. So I would never do this. But if I did, okay, it looks like I put a lot of content out there. Tiger Woods now writes 1 article. Who do you think is going to get more authority? My 1,500 articles by some amateur who doesn't know how to hit a ball straight anyways, or Tiger Woods? So if you become trusted and authoritative, you don't have to put out as much content. And some of the things that you do to become trusted is if you put out white papers, if you have case studies, real world examples, something that's called EAT. It stands for expertise, experience, authority, and trust. And this is part of the algorithm that Google looks at, and they want to see that you're showing those things. So do you have real reviews? Do you have actual Google reviews? Do you have Facebook reviews, house reviews? Anywhere that gives a review, take those and embed them into your content so it shows real world people actually talking and saying that, yeah, you know what you're talking about. And then again, owner-led or AI-assisted video answers, going on camera and answering lots and lots of questions, and then putting it all into a playlist, taking that playlist, putting it onto your website, making sure that all of that is in YouTube, not just in any video program, because if it's in YouTube, it now can be seen by Google as much more authoritative. Also, make sure you upload the transcripts, makes it a lot easier for the machine to read it. And that brings us to something called structured data. And without boring you, it's just a type of programming. It's called schema. If you have a WordPress website, there's 100 different plugins, Rank Math, Yoast, all in one. There's a bunch of them that will write this for you. But what it is essentially code that tells the AI bot what your content is categorized as. So it's not just a meta description where it gives a little 2-sentence piece, but it actually takes the content. If you wrote FAQs, you say, hey, this page has FAQs on them. Here's the question, here's the answer. And then you create this FAQ schema. Don't get hung up on it. If you work with agencies, they can help you write it. But honestly, there's a ton of plugins that do this on just about any website. And this can be done for reviews, for photos. If you look on the screen, what you'll see is something that was created because there was product schema. Because that product schema is there, now Google actually shows photos, shows star ratings of people who have reviewed it, shows prices. This is all based on the schema, the structured data that has been injected into it. A big way that also you become authoritative is by being mentioned other places. Not just, you can say all you want about yourself. Why should anybody trust you? But if there's a press release about content that you wrote, so if you create a piece of content and now you write a press release, hey, there is a kitchen designer in Omaha, Nebraska who just wrote this fabulous piece educating the general public on whatever the subject might be, and then it links back to your piece of content. And it embeds that video of you talking about it in the press release. Now every time someone sees that press release, by the way, they're going to go into the YouTube page and they're going to play it. That's going to be an engagement signal. Every time that someone looks at that, they're going to get authoritative links from media sources, from the Boston Globe, from the Miami Herald, from radio stations, from CBS News affiliates across the country. All of that, that's really helpful because it demonstrates that somebody approved it that would have some sort of editorial review, meaning it wasn't just somebody who posted a piece of content on a website and they approve everything. It had to pass muster. So that you get more credibility for that. Honestly, Reddit and Quora, if you can be cited in that, that's the number one thing. The latest statistics show that 70% of all ChatGPT results have some citation from either Reddit or Quora in them. That's pretty amazing. And obviously, like real reviews, Houzz reviews are great, Google reviews are great, anything that requires actual validation. And then what we have is, again, I keep coming back to this because it's becoming just so important, is video. And what I'm going to show you right now is pretty amazing. This is actually not a human being. This is one of my clients' AI clones. And this is something that basically we created the clone of this guy, and he's able to now answer 15, 20, 30 questions a month without him ever having to pick up a camera. Because of this, it created this sense of authority around him, and people seem to think that he knows a heck of a lot more. And all you got to do is have Claude write a bunch of scripts, put it into the program to create this, and this is what you get.
One of the first questions people ask me, do you actually do the work yourself? I used to, but here's why I don't anymore, and why that's better for you. I realize my real value isn't swinging a hammer, it's seeing what you can't see. Like that kitchen in Lunenburg, where the refrigerator was right next to this beautiful copper hood. Everything felt cramped. I moved that fridge to a spot they never considered, added a wine rack above it, and suddenly the hood became the focal point it was meant to be. That's where I need to be focused, on the design. So now I work with licensed contractors who do everything. Electrical, plumbing, tile, painting.
I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing, but the point being is that whole video, all the B-roll, all the 15 minutes. Think about how many of those you could create if you had 3 hours a day, or 3 hours a week even, just to pump it out, versus maybe I get one done on my own. And what happens is now it becomes expertise, it becomes seen, and it goes up on every social media platform. And with the schema, you actually put in what's called same as. So you tell Google, hey, this video on YouTube is the same as this video on LinkedIn, is the same as this video on TikTok, it's the same as this video on Instagram, is the same as my web page here about this subject matter, is the same as this article and this press release here, and the systems start to connect it all together. So the last piece of the puzzle is you need to engage with the AI systems. And this goes for just about everyone. Whether you're on ChatGPT, whether you're on Claude, Copilot, Perplexity, all of them have these thumbs up, thumbs down. So ask a question. Go in right now and say, who is the best, whatever it is you do in your city? Do you show up? Are you one of the answers? If you're not, give the answer a thumbs down and then turn around. It's going to ask you, why did you give me a thumbs down? And you're going to give it a reason. This information actually wasn't very helpful to me. I recently did find in a website about somebody who would, and tell why that page, don't just send to a homepage, send it to a page that has some real substance to it. Usually it'll be a blog page or a service page that talks about the expertise, the process, the price points, having real reviews, and say, you might want to consider this. And believe it or not, you're having that conversation with an AI, but it's going to then go, it's going to crawl that web page, it's going to consume the information, and if in fact it is structured properly, if in fact it does have internal links and pointing it to other pieces of content, if in fact it goes through this system, it will start to recognize that and start to then cite that as an answer. Now, if you do it just one time, it's probably not gonna, I mean, it's not magic, right? But if you do this from 4 or 5 different accounts, meaning don't log in from the same place, be at home, be at work, be on your cell phone, have a couple different accounts you can log in from, have a friend or two do the same thing for you, it starts to see this a half a dozen times, it does really make a difference. So with all of that said, let's talk a little bit about the future of search, future of AEO. One of the things is that we are going to see a lot more searches, I think, conducted via voice search. And that's why these Q&A is so important, because people are more and more using Alexa and asking detailed questions. They're picking up their phone, even on ChatGPT. And I mean, I see this with the next generation. I've got a 16-year-old nephew walking around Disney World with him last summer. He's having full-blown conversations with this damn thing. It's crazy. He's not talking to me. He's asking, hey, is this ride going to scare me? Is this ride going to, nothing to do with kitchens and baths, but what he was doing is he was giving all this context, and the AI system is learning. These are the things that he's interested in. So as people start to search, they're going to get much more personalized results as well. And you want to make sure that the content that you're putting out, no matter what format it's in, is going to kind of work with that intent so that your content all syncs up to kind of the buyer persona of who you want to work with. I think that AI is going to play a much, much bigger role in determining search results. I think Google is going to become less and less important. We're already seeing that, like I said at the beginning, Google was the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It sure as heck went on a diet, and I think that it's going to get starved really quickly as all these other systems start to become more mainstream. One of the things is Perplexity is a big one right now, and the reason for that is anybody who has a professional PayPal account got a Perplexity Pro account for free. There are going to be these joint ventures, these partnerships that are going to drive. I know a lot of big corporations are making everybody who work for them use Copilot. And every email, every phone call they have, everything about them now is known by Copilot. So that's why this is really something that we're looking at. How do we adapt? How do we shift to what that next generation is? And really the businesses who adapt early, they're clearly going to dominate the market. So just kind of summing it all up, what we talked about here is kind of the paradigm shift from search to answers, is how consumer behavior is changing with voice, is changing with intent. And really why this is so crucial for local businesses, because you can now compete. Listen, Home Depot and Lowe's and everybody, everybody else there, Floor and Decor, they can have all the authority in the world. And they can put out millions and millions of dollars into ads, and they can put out those giant displays that you see out there right now. But the fact is, the little guy can compete with them because they can answer questions, and honestly, you know what your clients want to know. So put that out there. And I like to say, we like to compete with strategy, not by overspending. And we've gone over kind of the 7 steps to all of this. Now, I'm going to ask you for questions in a minute, but before we get to that, just as a little, giveaway here. I put together a free kind of an SOP on exactly how to use all the different AI tools together. You can download this checklist for free. This is not going to ask you to sign up. It's not going to ask you for an email address or a phone number or any of that. Totally free just for coming here. And it's basically a 10-page guide, step to step. Like I said, color by the numbers. You have my book, which is 200 pages, and there's a lot more. It is a lot more. But if you're like me and you just want to say, okay, how do I get it done right now, and I don't want to spend 6 hours reading a book, this will get it for you. But before I conclude, is there anything I haven't touched on? Is there anything that you'd like to shed a little bit more light on? Okay.